In the intricate game of modern politics, nothing is more alarming than the brazen hypocrisy of our so-called leaders. Keir Starmer, leader of the UK Labour Party, has long positioned himself as the defender of the vulnerable, the voice of the downtrodden, and the champion of change. Yet, the recent leak of private tapes reveals a starkly different picture. The man who claims to represent the working class, the pensioners, and the farmers has been caught mocking them behind closed doors. It is not merely a betrayal of trust, it is a cynical manipulation of the very people he professes to care about. The British public, and especially Labour supporters, deserve to wake up to this revelation and demand accountability. It is time to confront the uncomfortable truth that the Labour leader's public persona is a carefully crafted lie, one that risks dragging the party into irrelevance. Starmer's dismissive comments about the elderly struggling with fuel poverty are not just insensitive, they are a profound insult to the very people whose votes he depends on. When discussing the plight of 1.5 million pensioners, he reportedly mocked their concerns, deeming them politically expendable. To dismiss the suffering of the elderly as insignificant in the eyes of political strategy is a callous demonstration of a leader who is out of touch with reality. Starmer's public concerns for vulnerable groups ring hollow when placed against the backdrop of these private admissions. What message does it send to those suffering through brutal winters without enough to heat their homes? Starmer's behavior reveals a man who is willing to exploit their hardships for political gain. This is the kind of leadership that undermines public trust and erodes faith in our democratic institutions. But it doesn't stop there. Starmer's callousness extends to more than just pensioners. His leaked conversations expose a ruthless political calculation, one that seeks to harm the most vulnerable without facing any repercussions. The discussions about cutting winter fuel payments, for example, are not just a policy shift, they represent a deliberate effort to target the elderly and vulnerable in the name of expedient politics. Behind closed doors, Starmer and his inner circle made it clear that they were willing to make these cuts and present them in a way that would minimize backlash. This cold, detached approach to governance reveals the true priorities of the Labour Party under Starmer's leadership: political survival at all costs, even if it means sacrificing the people who need help the most. Starmer's hypocrisy reaches its peak when considering his views on the democratic process. In the same leaked tapes, he is heard mocking the growing petition for a new general election, a petition that garnered nearly 3 million signatures. Instead of acknowledging the clear and overwhelming desire for change, Starmer dismisses the petition as the noise of people who don't matter. This is a blatant slap in the face to those who care enough to stand up for a democratic process that is supposed to reflect the will of the people. Starmer's arrogance here is telling. He views the public not as the source of his mandate, but as a group of pawns to be ignored when inconvenient. If this is the Labour Party's view of democracy, then it is no wonder that so many are abandoning the party in droves. Even more troubling is Starmer's stance on Brexit. While publicly declaring his respect for the referendum result, the tapes reveal a leader who is already engaging in secret negotiations to reverse the very decision that so many in this country fought for. Starmer has secretly discussed regulatory alignment with the European Union and even considered rejoining the EU customs framework. This is not just a contradiction, it is a betrayal of millions who voted to leave the EU. Starmer's willingness to mislead the public and backtrack on his supposed commitment to respecting the will of the people demonstrates a lack of integrity that cannot be ignored. It is a stark reminder that some politicians are more interested in playing political games than serving the electorate's genuine wishes. And yet, this is the man who now seeks to lead the country. This is the man who claims to embody the values of fairness, social justice, and equality. But in reality, Starmer's Labour Party is not fighting for these values. It is not fighting for the people it once represented, nor is it concerned with democracy. It is a party trapped in a web of its own contradictions, one that says one thing and does another, all while attempting to pander to the very people it is secretly plotting against. The public deserves better than this. The Labour Party deserves better than this. The truth is that Starmer has failed not only the British public, but also the Labour Party itself. The party that once stood as the champion of the working class is now a hollow shell of its former self, corrupted by political expediency and a willingness to disregard its core values for the sake of power. Starmer's actions have shown that he is not the leader we need, a leader who will stand up for the vulnerable, defend democracy, and respect the wishes of the people. Instead, we are left with a leader whose words are meaningless, whose promises are empty, and whose actions betray everything the Labour Party once stood for. It is time for Labour supporters to face the reality that their leader is not what he appears to be. The hypocrisy and contempt revealed in these tapes cannot be ignored. Starmer must be held accountable for the damage he has done to the party and to the people of this country. The Labour Party must find a way to rebuild its credibility and reclaim its values, or it will continue to lose the trust of the very people it was meant to serve. The truth has been exposed, and now it is up to the public to demand the change they deserve.